44? Where is he? Pardon me, what are you 44?
I'm only 36.
Hi, 99.
Any luck with finding Agent 44?
No, but the chief said he'd be here, so he's got to be here somewhere.
Maybe he's in plain sight. You know, he did come top of his class in spy, disguise, and concealment.
Yes, I know. He beat me by that much.
I didn't know that, Max. You must have been terribly disappointed.
Yes, I was. I was a shoo-in for the class medal, you know. But right at the last minute, things didn't quite go my way.
Why? What happened?
Well, it was the final exam. It was a practical, with a Wild West theme. Agent 44 disguised himself as a handsome palomino. I was a very convincing haystack. Everything was going perfectly. The judges had no idea where I was. And then it happened.
What, Max?
There was an incident with a lit cigarette.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. All my hopes of full credit went up in smoke. Literally.
Oh, Max, that's terrible.
You're telling me it took 3 months for my eyebrows to grow back. That's it, 99. I've got it.
What, Max?
I know where to find Agent 44.
Where, Max?
Have you seen a palomino in the park anywhere?
No, Max.
99, we've got to get that message. The fate of the whole world could depend on it.
Hey, Max, why don't you ring the chief on your shoe phone and I'll go and check the other side of the park again.
99, if you don't mind, as the senior agent, I'd like to take charge of the situation.
Sure, Max. What should we do, Max?
Well, why don't you go check the other side of the park again while I call the chief on my shoe phone and ask him where Agent 44 is hiding?
Good thinking, 86.
Wouldn't you know it? Gum on my shoe phone. At least I think it's gum. Maybe not. Good thing I've got my inconspicuous comb phone with me. Agent 86 calling control. Agent 86 calling control. Come in, control. Hello, Chief. This is Max. Chief, I'm down at the park with Agent 99 and... What's that? I sound muffled. Hold on a minute, Chief. Just as I thought, the old dandruff in the comb phone. That's the second time that's happened to me this month. Okay, Chief, I've got... Sorry about that, Chief. As I was saying, Chief, I'm down at the park with Agent 99, and we can't seem to find Agent 44 anywhere. Yes, I do know he came top of his class in spy, disguise, and concealment. And yes, I do know he beat me by that much. What's that? In the bin, you say? Oh, okay, Chief. I see it. I'll give you a call back when I've got the message from Agent 44. 86 out. 44. 44. Are you there, 44? Where can he be?
Max! Max! Down here!
44? What are you doing in the trash can? The chief said you'd be in the donation bin.
I was, Max, but it was getting too cramped.
Cramped? What do you mean cramped?
Well, with all those other guys in there, there wasn't much room.
What other guys?
Well, there's not too many places to hide around here, Max, so I had to share the bin with guys from the other agencies. The DEA, the NSA, the CIA. We even had the guy from the Spy Union Workplace Health and Safety Rep come for a visit. So it was a little crowded. And between you and me, Max, those guys from the other agencies, they don't smell so good. And you know how sensitive my nose is. I mean, I don't know what they feed them in their agency cafeterias. It must be chili burritos with a side order of onions and garlic, because those guys smell bad, Max. I mean, they really smell bad. I think if anyone lit a match, we're talking 4th of July, Max. You know what I mean?
Okay, 44, I get the picture.
And they snore. I could barely get any sleep the other night. And then when I did manage to doze off, someone dropped a saucepan on my head. No, the trash can's much better, Max. Oh, and by the way, did you know people throw away perfectly good food? I mean, already today, I've had 3 half-eaten jelly donuts, most of a cream cheese and salmon bagel, and the better part of a cafe latte. But that was made on soy, so probably explains why it ended up in the bin.
That's great, 44, but I'm after the message. Have you got the message for me?
What did you have for breakfast, Max?
44, I don't think now is the time for me to discuss my breakfast menu.
Come on, Max, tell me.
44, I just need the message.
Max, I've been stuck in this trash can for the last 12 hours without anyone to talk to except for a squirrel. The least you can do is tell me what you had for breakfast.
Okay, 44. Let's see. I got up this morning, I had a cup of coffee, I went downstairs, had another cup of coffee, bowl of oatmeal, half a dozen flapjacks, 2 hash browns, another cup of coffee, eggs Benedict, slice of raisin toast, glass of orange juice, another cup of coffee, and a peach. Come on, 44, you know how I hate to see a grown agent cry. I know things are a bit rough at the moment, but I'm sure your next assignment is going to be much better. Why, just the other day, I heard the chief say that he's got a nice locker picked out for you down at the bus depot. You know, the one next to your favorite vending machine.
Oh, thanks, Max. You say the nicest things.
Don't mention it, 44. Now, have you got the message?
Oh, yeah. Have you got a pen and paper, Max?
44, are you kidding? Why, I'll have you know I've got a photographic memory. I once memorized 4 volumes of Encyclopedia Britannica. Would you believe it? 4 volumes.
I find that hard to believe, Max.
Would you believe 3 editions of Spy Monthly?
I don't think so.
Well, how about a lengthy anecdote about a traveling salesman and a polar bear? No. Okay, I'll write it down. Okay, what's the message, 44?
Before I tell you, Max, I've got to warn you, this message comes with immense risk. Many have suffered greatly for having this message, and just for knowing the message, you could be arrested, imprisoned, beaten, even tortured mercilessly on your way to a horrible, painful death.
And loving it. Just lay it on me, 44.
Here it is, Max. The God who made you loves you.
The God who made you loves you. That's excellent work, 44. You've done your country proud. You might even get a medal from the president for this. Just one thing I need to ask you, though, 44.
What's that, Max?
What does it mean?
Well, Max, exactly what it says. The God of all creation, the one who made everything, including you and me, loves us in the truest sense of the word. He wants us to have a deep and perfect relationship with him forever. And he made this possible by sending his own precious son to die as a sacrifice to pay for all the wrong things mankind has done and will ever do.
I see.
Without him doing that, the world would still be in chaos.
Ah, yes, chaos. That international organization of evil, full of thieves, cutthroats, and tax cheats.
No, Max, not chaos with a K. I mean chaos with a C.
Chaos with a C? I didn't know you could spell chaos with a C. Why didn't somebody tell me you could spell it like that?
Max, I mean, the world would be totally lost. We would be separated from God forever. But Jesus willingly gave up his life to save us.
Wow, that's amazing, 44. I better get this message to the chief straight away. And don't worry about a thing, 44. The secret is safe with me. I won't breathe a word of it to anyone, not even under pain of death.
No, Max.
Again with the no, Max? What do you mean, no, Max?
I mean, it's not a secret, Max. It's a message for everyone to know.
Incredible. A secret message that's not a secret. Wait till I tell the chief. Thanks, 44. I better go find Agent 99 and get back to headquarters. And do yourself a favor. Take it easy on those jelly donuts, otherwise things might get a little bit too cramped in the trash can as well. Yeah. The God who made you loves you. The God who made you loves you. The God who made me loves me. Why, this is fantastic. This changes everything. '86 calling control. Come in, control. Hello, Chief. This is Max. Chief, I've got the secret message from Agent 44. And get this, Chief, the secret message is not a secret. That's right. It's for everyone. Don't worry, Chief. I'll explain it all when I get back to headquarters. Yeah. I gotta go, Chief. Somebody's coming. "44. 44, are you okay?" Poor devil, he's unconscious. Don't worry, 44. It'll be okay. Everything will be okay. Agent 86 calling control. Hello, control. This is a magenta alert. I repeat, a magenta alert. Agent down. Location is Lincoln Memorial Park. Bring hazmat suits and a giant can opener. Agent 86 out. Yes, the old foo-foo doo-doo in the trash can where the agent is hiding trick. That's the second time that's happened to him this month. Don't worry, 44. Help is on the way. They'll get you out of there in a jiffy. Maybe 2 jiffies. I'll see you later, 44. I bet you weren't expecting that when you rocked up to church this morning, were you? And I know what you're thinking. Evidence of a misspent youth. Yeah. Yes. So I must plead guilty to watching many hours of television as a child. When we had the black and white. What's a black and white, say the younger generation? There were only 4 channels, and you actually had to get out of your chair if you wanted to change the channel. Yeah. And then, of course, you had to share the TV because there was only one in the house, and if you had siblings, then they had to be allowed to watch what they wanted to watch too, which might have been different. I know my brother used to like watching something called Sea Hunt. It was a little bit before my time, but I was told that he used to get right into it, and he used to wear his goggles and snorkel and his flippers while he was sitting there watching it. So I expect that was the equivalent of virtual reality. Okay. All right. Because I had to memorize so many lines for that drama, I have not memorized what I'm going to talk about, so I'm going to do a bit of reading. Hope you don't mind. And I'm just wondering too, do we have any other fellow Get Smart fans in the audience? Okay, so good, I am preaching to the converted in a sense. That's good. But I've got to confess, when I used to watch Get Smart, I was always wondering why in the world, at the start of the show, during the intro, he'd walk down that corridor, go through all those doors, get into a phone booth, make a call, and then squat down. I couldn't work it out. And it wasn't until many years later I realised, well, that's actually the secret entrance to his headquarters, and he was actually going into the secret headquarters. And maybe that's a revelation for a few people. Yeah. Okay. All right. Right. So I just wanted to add my thanks also, just so I don't forget to do it later, to my fellow cast members for the time they've put into learning and practicing their lines. That worked really well. None of them refused my offer of being in the drama, which was great. A big thank you to our prop maker again, Graham. Thank you. Excellent job there. He took my little sketches and made it reality, which is fantastic. And also a big thank you to our sound and lighting and media team for helping out, particularly for Sam Griffiths and Brad for helping with setting up the lights during the week. That worked really well as well. As a fellow Zoom operator, I've got to give acknowledgement to the Zoom operator because it's not an easy job. There's a lot of little things you have to deal with. You're playing around with the sound, and you have to make sure the words are on Zoom, and you have to keep moving the camera around. And it becomes really challenging if you've got a wanderer, okay? Somebody up here speaking, they're a wanderer, okay? Pastor Paul is a little bit of a wanderer. Yep, I've got an amen from the back there. But I do find he's a little bit disciplined, okay? He's got a fairly fixed range, okay? So when you're operating Zoom, you can get the camera there before he actually arrives, and you know he's not going to go past that point. So So that's not too bad. Now, Brad's excellent. He likes to use his laptop, so he's a little bit tethered in place. He's got limited movement, and that's great from a Zoom perspective. Yeah. Peter Collins, when he's up here, he's a bit unpredictable. Okay. Okay. But I have noticed that he is a little bit left-leaning, which is a bit unusual for Peter, really. He likes that one. Yeah. But I have to say, by far the worst is Richard Schuster. It's a bad morning if he hasn't traversed from one end of the stage to the other. Okay. So, Zach, rest assured I'm not moving too far from the podium, so it's all good. Okay. I have been given the opportunity to just share with you a bit of the inspiration behind the drama. Not so much in the mode of the delivery, because I've just explained where that's come from, but in the message itself. So if you will indulge me, I would like to read a bit of a story to you. This goes back a few years. In 1996, a young missionary who'd been serving in Mozambique and his fellow worker were invited to speak on the topics of evangelism and discipleship and share their experiences with a small class of students. I was in that class, and this is how their brief story went, more or less. While spending time with locals in the markets of Mozambique, they had opportunity to hear about a remote village in the north where the good news of Jesus had not been preached. Being prompted by the Holy Spirit, they prepared and set out to visit this village. After crossing the nearby river, they proceeded to travel north, hitching rides where they could and asking directions along the way because they were really unsure of where they were going. After walking for many hours and throughout the night, they arrived at the village that they had set out to find just as people began to gather to buy and sell in their marketplace. Now, a tall, white Canadian missionary tended to stand out amongst the local population. And it wasn't long before the two men were approached by the chief of the village, who asked them some probing questions. "What are you doing here, and why have you come?" The young missionary, without hesitation, replied to the chief, "I have come to give you a message. The God who made you loves you." The chief thought about the words spoken to him and said, in the hearing of his fellow villagers, "This is a good message. You must come again and tell us more." The missionaries were not able to stay in the village because there was witchcraft active in the area, and for their own safety, they were told to leave, so they turned around and left. Now, at this point, the storyteller in our classroom paused. Sensing this break, a bright student in the class, not me, asked the obvious question, "So what happened next?" "I don't know," replied the missionary. "I haven't been back." At this point, there was almost a collective sigh of disappointment from the class. So that was the end of the story. But was it the end? The discipleship school lasted another 2 months. I never saw that missionary again. But fast forward some 15 years or so, and the Lord brought that question back to my mind. What happened next? This thought haunted me for a number of months as I wondered what might have happened in the time since. Did the young missionary ever return to tell the chief and his fellow villagers more? It took me some time, but I eventually had a great idea. I would ask our very own international man of mystery, Mr. Roger Mack, if he knew this particular missionary. They were, after all, affiliated with the same mission organisation. So I asked, and guess what? Roger had never heard of him. Disappointment again. But that emotion was short-lived, because I had another brilliant idea. Actually, it was more like a dull moment, you know, the times when you want to hit your hand against your forehead when you realise how dumb you actually are. Of course, when you need to know something that you have no way of knowing, what do? Russell says he asks his wife, which is a good idea at times, yes. But you Google it, of course. So that's what I did, but not straight away, because I and my family were preparing to go to Mojowarno in Indonesia at that time to visit the Compassion Project that our church was sponsoring. So the search for the story of the Mozambique missionaries sat on the back burner for yet a few more weeks. After we returned from Indonesia, I finally got around to performing that Google search to find what I was looking for. And behold, I did find it. There was a recording of this missionary speaking to his home church in Canada, telling them the story of how God used him and his companion to take the gospel of Jesus Christ to an unreached people in northern Mozambique. And what was that story, you might ask? Well, over subsequent visits, the missionaries established relationships with the people, sharing their lives with them, teaching them from the Bible, and bringing a number of them to faith in God. One thing that he mentioned, which they longed for, was to have a place at which they could meet and conduct church services with their new believers. But this was not possible since they were not part of the tribe. But an opportunity came to change this, however, when the missionary was given a chance to name a newborn child. In his own words, he described how after he was handed the child, in Lion King style, he held up the newborn for all to see and declared her name to be Esther. From that time on, he was accepted as one of their own, and some land was set aside to establish a church meeting place. And so there is the happy and long-awaited ending to an amazing story, but one which hopefully still continues. And as amazing as this was, there is another amazing aspect to this tale. Though it had started 15 years earlier, and I had thought about the unfinished story for many months beforehand, and though I delayed the Google search in lieu of travelling to Mojowarno, the day when this missionary shared his story with his home church was while I was actually in Indonesia. So even if I'd looked him up when I first thought of that Google search, I would have found nothing. And interestingly, I've not been able to find that story since. God's timing is perfect, is it not? It's now almost 28 years since I first heard that message, so why is it placed before you today? I can only presume that, again, God's timing is perfect. Maybe there's someone here today who needed to hear that message. Perhaps you've never heard it like this, that the God of the universe, the one who made you, is for you. He loves you so much that he was willing to sacrifice his most precious possession to save you from his own justice. Or maybe you need to take this message to someone else, a neighbour, a work colleague, a family member. Maybe there's someone you've spoken to in the past. You've planted a seed and God's calling you to follow them up. Are you willing? It's a simple message. The God who made you loves you. And please remember, the secret message is not a secret. I don't really have anything else to say, but I don't feel right without including a Bible verse here. So I just want to leave you with a quote from Paul the Apostle's letter to the Romans, from Romans 1, which says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes."